My dear friends, Christmas is finally here. After 4 weeks of preparation during the season of Advent, we welcome Jesus into our lives. Liturgically, there are 3 Masses celebrated on Christmas Day. One at midnight, one at dawn, and one during the day. Each Mass is distinct and highlights a different aspect of the Christmas story. For our reflection today, we shall choose the readings of the Mass at midnight. In the first reading, taken from the prophet Isaiah, we see a reference being made to the northern tribes of Zebulun and Naphtali. The invasion of the Assyrians would hit the northern regions the hardest. The tribes of Zebulun and Naphtali are included in the 10 lost tribes that inhabited the northern kingdom of Israel but were exiled by the king of Assyria, who conquered Israel in 721 BC. It is in this context that Isaiah proclaims, "The people who walked in darkness have seen a great light. Upon them a light has shone." In God's mercy, these lands will be the first to see the light of the Messiah. We see the fulfillment of this promise in the New Testament, which speaks about Jesus leaving Nazareth and beginning his public ministry in the northern area of Israel, around the Sea of Galilee. The ministry of the Messiah would bring joy and gladness to Israel. Their rejoicing will be like that of farmers at harvest time. It will be like that of the soldiers when they go over the spoils of their victory. Jesus' ministry will be liberative, like the victory Gideon enjoyed over the Midianites. Isaiah then gives the glorious prophecy of the birth of the Messiah. "For to us a child is born, to us a son is given." The greatest significance of this prophecy is perhaps that the Messiah would be born as a human being and not some divine creature. Being born as a human was essential for Jesus to fully identify with humanity and to display in his life the service-orientedness of God. Isaiah assures that complete and lasting peace comes with the righteous reign of the divine Messiah, who is a wonderful counselor, mighty God, everlasting Father, and Prince of Peace. The second reading, taken from the letter of St. Paul to Titus, presents God's plan of salvation in terms of 2 appearances of Jesus, or manifestations of God's presence. Jesus' first appearance manifested God's grace, and his second coming will manifest God's glory. Jesus manifests God's grace to us in the most astounding way, precisely by the humility in which he first makes himself known to us, as a vulnerable infant born to peasant parents, lying in a manger far from the comforts of home. Grace teaches us how to live in the present age. We must be self-controlled concerning ourselves. We must live upright or righteously concerning the people around us by treating them fairly and honestly. And we must honor God by trying to live a reverent and holy life. This transformation, however, does not happen overnight, but is a long, painstaking process as we grow into maturity. In the Gospel passage taken from Luke, we have the beautiful Nativity narrative. We witness Joseph and the pregnant Mary as they make the journey from Nazareth to Bethlehem, where Mary delivers her firstborn son in the humblest of conditions. We delight with the shepherds and get to share in the angel's joyful birth announcement of the Messiah. What stands out in this narrative is that God chooses the small and less powerful over the strong and the mighty. In the spiritual exercises of St. Ignatius of Loyola, which is also known as the 30-day or the long retreat, there is a contemplation dedicated to the Incarnation. St. Ignatius asks the retreatant to consider the Trinity, gazing on the world and seeing how all people were going down into hell the Trinity decide that the second person, that is Jesus, should become a human being in order to save the human race. The incarnation was a deliberate choice, a deliberate action to reveal to us who God is. Those who are skeptics amongst us would roll their eyes and say, all this is just a fantastic story. But just look around. It's been 2000 years since Jesus was born. What difference did his birth make to the people? The world today is as big a mess, if not messier, than it was 2000 years ago. This question has always haunted me. How does one respond to this? I got an insight when I had the privilege to document a drinking water project of the Jesuit institution MPSM at a remote village in Maharashtra named Vadmal. This village faced an acute shortage of water as it was located on the top of a hill. The women of this village had to go up and down a steep slope to fetch water from a well that was located a kilometer away. Through this project, the water was pumped up to the village directly from the water source using solar energy. Now, this was the first time such a technology was being used in a very hostile terrain, and therefore there was a 50-50 chance of its success. I vividly remember the day when they were going to do a test run. We all were sitting around this pipe through which the water was going to flow, and with each passing minute, the hopes of the women began to dwindle. And out of desperation, one of the women went and put her ear to the pipe, and then she began to look into it, but there was absolutely no sign of water. As time passed, I too began to lose hope. And it was just then, at that moment, that the pipe suddenly came to life and the water began to flow through it. And seeing the water flow, the women were elated. The joy on the faces of those women was something completely out of this world. And it was at that moment it dawned on me. Isn't this the incarnation? Jesus was born again in the hearts of those villagers. True, Jesus was born physically 2000 years ago, but he can still be born every day, even now, if we play our role. Before we get into the festivities of Christmas, we need to ask ourselves, who am I in this Christmas story? Am I like Joseph and Mary, who are open to the working of God in their life? Or am I like those innkeepers who keep turning away Jesus from their lives? Is there room for Jesus in our hearts this Christmas? The Christmas challenge for us this year is to make the presence of Jesus felt on earth today. We are called to bring a smile to someone's face and make a positive impact in changing the lives of others. I pray that this Christmas may bring hope, peace, joy, and love in our lives and in the lives of our near and dear ones. So how are you going to make this Christmas different from the rest? Wishing you all a very Merry Christmas. God bless.